This is Team Objection podcast for April 16th, 2020, episode 433. I hope you got your taxes done. Oh,
3 more months, guys.
yeah, you got
3 more months.
July now, actually. So just one of a million different things that seemed relatively normal that no longer are in light of the coronavirus and its effects on the country and the world as a whole. And as we promised at the end of last week, we're going to kind of talk about just what we've been doing in the interim. We've been at this for basically almost 4 months now, or 4 weeks now.
God, not 4 months. No, not 4 months.
The news first kind of started happening as far as affecting the states on my birthday, March 11th. That was the day the NBA shut down, as we talked about. You know, the Tom Hanks news, some other stuff.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that was weird. And pretty much that following Monday, at least in Flagstaff, that was when we had the city order. We were the first city in the state to do it. But let's just say, about 4 weeks, whatever. And since then, we've all been having to cope with whatever this new reality is and kind of figure out ways to keep busy, to stay active as best as you can, to keep from going crazy, and to adapt to work, which I'm sure has been different for all three of us in a world where you can't really go to the office anymore. So we thought we would just kind of talk about our experiences with that and what we might recommend to other people going through this, because there are some people who've adapted well, and there are some people who are really struggling with this, and both sides have some validity to it.
How are you guys doing? Specifically on that spectrum.
Honestly, as weird as it sounds for me, it's not. I don't want to sound insensitive, but it's not that difficult. Working from home is not difficult for me. I have a computer. I have a room with the computer in it. I can do pretty much all the same work I do at work at home, and I don't have to drive there. So it's kind of easier almost.
Yeah, but you're an extrovert, so aren't you going crazy?
No, not really. I mean, I do enjoy going out and I do enjoy doing things, but honestly, I don't do that much anymore. The thing I miss the most is stuff like, whether watching Suns games or going out to basketball games or playing basketball, going to the gym, stuff like that is really what I miss the most.
I think the most difficult thing that people are coming to terms with here is some of them have a hard time adjusting to working from home, and that's a process for sure. But I was reading a story that it said basically 30 to 35% of people have that capability. Mm-hmm. And some jobs obviously don't lend themselves to that. And we've seen the stress that's been putting on those industries: healthcare workers, grocery store workers, truckers, first responders, all these types of jobs that have really no online components. So office type jobs, which all three of us technically have adapted pretty smoothly. And I think all three of us have done pretty well with it. I do sympathize with the folks who either can't or don't have the resources to do it conveniently. Especially, there are a lot of people in the 50 to 70 age bracket that are having a hard time with this new technological stuff. They've never used Zoom before. They haven't really gotten used to the idea of having a home computer for meetings. They're used to doing it in a boardroom. So, there's some components that are tough for some folks. But for the three of us, look at what we're doing right now. I'm not going to sit here and be like, we're front runners, but we've been doing the show this way for 3 years almost now?
I was actually going to say that is you see, Trevor Noah and John Oliver, all their formats, Saturday Night Live, it's all changed. And it's well, at least we get to be a beacon of consistency, because this is what we've always done.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had this show recording over the internet for 8 years, almost nine years now, pretty much.
So maybe our 5 listeners will derive some sense of comfort from that.
Yeah, some continuity. But we've been even doing video for a year or two now, right?
Yeah, I think almost 2.5 now, I think. I have to double check, but it's up there for a while now. It goes back into the early to mid 300s, and we're on 433 now. So it was nice to see, like you said, those ones you mentioned, and Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert and all of them. It's we're doing the Zoom interviews now, and it's well, we first started this and we made it do with a makeshift radio thing. And we even had a live component for that was like radio. And now that we've switched, we almost have a mini TV studio that I run this through. So we're just pretending like we're big boy media with small boy resources.
And really, it's funny how easily this was transitioned for many people, because, I'm sitting here staring at a $100 or $50 camera, whatever it was, that records in 1080p.
Yeah.
Which was the standard for a few years of HD, the best you could get in HD. Now, of course, there's 4K, but for the most part, if you broadcast something in 1080p, no one's going to be mad about it. So it's kind of one of those things that I could sit here and be interviewed by any news media or anybody. Any person of any sort of power or influence is going to have the ability to buy something like this. Order on Amazon. It's here tomorrow. There you go. Now all of a sudden I can interview you.
Yeah.
No problem. It's simple.
Well, and like I've really liked, I mean, this sucks to say, but like, what do you want me to do? Lie about it and say I'm miserable? Like, I have enjoyed, I wish the circumstances were different, but I've enjoyed like the routine kind of, work from home. It's been actually a lot of work. At this point, I would probably, from a straight up volume standpoint, I just like it to go back to how it was because you end up having to do more. And at more hours when everybody's working from home, but it's been fine. And then for fun, we have a great weekend routine. We do like D&D and we dusted off Rock Band. We watch TV. Like, it's been really fun. So I haven't minded it. I'm definitely not going crazy, but I'm kind of built for being isolated anyway. I'm kind of a hardcore introvert. I can't be like really happy. Thank God for COVID so I can make money. Like, that's not what I'm doing, but still want to be a smart money manager.
I mean, I obviously you wish it wouldn't have. I know. I wish this wouldn't have happened. It's been a disruption of life. It's really a weird sign seeing how different it's people affected in a socioeconomic sense. I mean, like people like Chris, like you said, people who can work office jobs are generally a little more middle class type of thing. It's a little bit easier for us, but the poor, the people who have to work front lines, people who have to work in service related industries, if you're not fired and you're in the middle of working in potentially dangerous conditions, it's scary as hell. So it's a really weird divide for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us have had pretty similar. I don't know. I'm sort of like Shaun, where I don't want to sound callous, but all three of us have had the luxury of being in jobs that allow us to work from home. Like you mentioned, we're not having to be out amidst this pandemic, working on the front lines like even grocery store workers do now. And we also have not really been in any danger of losing our jobs whatsoever, which makes this, I think, a lot easier to get through than it would be for other folks who, even if they haven't already been laid off, are concerned about the possibility of it and what that would look like. And we know from things we've talked about on the show in the past about how few people in America had something set aside for any kind of disaster. Well, this was a disaster that hit everybody at once. So we were now very quickly realizing just how few people were prepared for anything that threatened their immediate livelihood. And that sucks. And for some people, they couldn't have been even if they had wanted to be. But it's a reminder that, like, for the three of us at least, yeah, I mean, again, you can't be ecstatic about it, but at least that's the one thing. I mean, I've been working my ass off the last 4 weeks. Everybody knows my line of work. But it's better than me being like, well, am I going to hit the unemployment line? What am I going to do with my family that I don't have? So I am at least I'm cognizant of the fact that I have at least a nice platform to stand on for this.
Yeah, I mean, my hardest thing I've had to deal with is the fact that my kids aren't in school, so we've had to have different ways of making sure they're still learning, making sure ways they're still doing things and staying active. That's been like the hardest thing to do, which, I mean, come on, I can't complain about that, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, but it's not like an insurmountable one.
No, not at all. It's a change of pace, it's a change of life, it's a change of the schedule, change of routine, but that's it.
What are you guys doing for fitness? That's been my hardest thing.
I imagine.
I was going to Orange Theory like 3 times a week, and I was doing basketball twice a week, and now I'm doing none of that.
I was doing nothing. I'm still doing nothing. So no change.
Great. Good.
Yeah, I think what I've done for fitness in this span of the last 4 weeks is realize how much I'm relying on team sports for fitness.
Yeah.
And in light of that being canceled for the foreseeable future, I've been trying to find some other ways, like riding the exercise bike, and that's part of the incentive behind Rock Band. I even thought about dusting off the old DDR pads, but But Rock Band was something I always really, really enjoyed doing, and drumming, especially an expert, can at least get some calories burned. So I'm like, well, at least it's something relatively physically active, because I've never liked running. It's the one thing you can sort of really still do without any major changes. I mean, yeah, you got to stay away from people, but you can go outside and run. It's like, yeah, but I hate that. So I've walked around the neighborhood a few times, a couple times a week I try to, just to get outside for a bit. But primarily it's just been stuff indoors whenever I can, and not a whole lot.
You know, playing the guitar while on the bike works better than you would think.
That seems difficult because there are legs bobbing up and down while you're trying to play.
You got to get the strap really tight around your neck.
Beatles style.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, it's interesting because you would think like, well, at some point you're going to focus more on your guitar than your legs. And I think if you're playing a really hard song, that's maybe the case. But there is an element of like, you can kind of cycle to the cadence and like the beat of the song. So it works better for your brain, and then it makes the guitar easy. Like I got a pretty good workout doing both at once.
In a way, I mean, you can kind of almost set your legs on autopilot. It's like, okay, this is the same motion over and over, so just keep doing that, brain. Okay, now I'm going to focus up here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I mean, pretty much. And then I've been trying to run, but I have to have really good, fresh music. Fresh is in like it's a new song, or I get bored really easily running. I've been doing Insanity again, and that's been good. It's really hard, even if you're in shape. It's just so different what the videos are asking you to do. But I'm in month 2 of Insanity now, Dave.
That's a good plan, and I've really wanted to do that, but I'm going to pull the dad card. My 5-month-old now doesn't want to sleep through the night. He wakes up literally every 2 hours, and so I don't sleep at night, and it sucks. I'm tired.
So it's only like, especially if you do month 1, which I think would be more than enough for you. It is definitely enough for me. It's like 40 minutes at most.
So you're right about that. My issue is just the timing of doing that is generally like, okay, I can do this. If I want to try to get to bed by 10:30, I have about 40 minutes to actually do it.
Well, what time do you have to wake up?
Okay. So my work schedule's been weird because I have to actually go into the office some weeks and then work from home other weeks. So if I'm working from home, I have to wake up at about 6:45. If I'm going to the office, I have to wake up about 5:45.
Gotcha.
So it's early.
I was going to say, just stay up later. That's a solution.
Of course.
Yeah, do that 11:30 p.m. Insanity workout.
Yeah, that always works. But I mean, yes, I probably could, but it's one of those things that then I have my life is work, kids, bedtime, Insanity, bedtime for me. It's like, that's it. So.
Well, yeah. So let's explore this. So you get home, and then what do you do?
Most times I try to do something with the kids because I like try to play a game with them. I try to, run around with them, talk to them, something like that.
Those damn kids. That
really
makes it tough.
No, it really is. I have no shame about this. It is the kids get in the way. It's fun. I enjoy it, but I mean, if I want to work out, they really get in the way.
Yeah, well, I have to put my dog outside because she gets in the way, and
you can't just put my kids outside.
You can't just throw your kids outside. Well, you kind of could, but not the baby.
No, actually, what I wish it was warmer here in Phoenix a little bit because then I'd just go swimming. I would just go in the backyard, go swimming, and I'd just get my workout that way. Just swim a few laps in the pool, and really, it's a good workout. So,
yeah,
well, it's supposed to get warmer later this week.
Yeah,
not warmer enough for swimming, but
no, not at all. So, what I want to know is, how are you guys, or are you guys planning on doing anything with your stimulus money you're getting?
So, because I don't need it, and again, I recognize the benefit that I have from being able to say that in the first place. I'm going to probably set some aside to make sure that a couple people in my family are covered because there's a couple people who are going through furloughs. And I'm probably going to donate / buy gift cards from some local businesses with the other half because, boy, especially in a town like Flagstaff, but everywhere really, are a lot of small businesses and local businesses in some dire straits right now. To where if May 1st, I think most of them will come back from that. It'll be a hit. They're going to have to rehire in some cases if they let people go. It's going to be a big pain in the ass, but I think they'll survive. If this doesn't reopen May 1st and we start going into mid-June, early July, I don't think a lot of those places come back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how people swoop in on those spaces. There's going to be landlords that rent is going to be cheap because they've got to fill it because they own the property. They need to start making money. And there's new businesses, and if people can come in who have money, you'll see a slew of new businesses coming in pretty much,
That's a good idea. Yeah, Dave, you're right. And that's a good idea, Chris. I hadn't really thought of that. I've done little things like I have a gym membership with my aerial class trapeze. That's another thing that I can't really do at home. And they were like, do you want to re-up for like the summer semester now? And I was like, fiscally, that's a terrible idea. But like, yeah, because it's going to help you guys out. I didn't say this to them, but I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Go ahead and charge my card. Because I'm like, I'm sure that me paying now for a summer class is going to help your bottom line. And so let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote an editorial, a couple weeks ago now, basically telling people in Flagstaff, but also just anybody listening in your own cities, That's one way you can really help, even if you don't intend to use the gift cards right away. And obviously, all of this is contingent upon you actually being in a position to do that. Some people are just barely scraping by right now. There's not any pressure on you in those situations. If the stimulus check is desperately needed to pay rent, then pay fucking rent. Obviously, I don't mean it that way. But for people who are in a position where they're like, well, I don't really need $1,200. I'm still employed or whatever, that might be one way to help. Pick your couple favorite local businesses, drop $100 on them in gift cards, use them in 3 months when things have maybe gone back to normal, because that certainty right now might be the difference between them being around in 3 months and not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are you doing, Shaun?
Really, I got Maisie's birthday gift today. Her, again, happy birthday to both of you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to probably save the rest. Although this gift card thing is a good idea. But yeah, it's kind of a situation where I don't have anything immediate that I'm like, oh my God, I need to put this money toward. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm saving some, and I've been trying to buy, like, if I want to go out to eat, I try to make sure I always go to a local restaurant as much as I can. Like, there's a brewery near me that Courtney and I got some beers from the other night, because they usually, I mean, their business is dried up completely, but they've started, bottling and canning some beers. So we got some from them, which is way more expensive than it should have been, but we're trying to eat local stuff as much as we can, go to local restaurants. I'm trying not to go to the Chipotle's, those types of restaurants and stuff that sometimes I like going to, but right now it's like the local ones need it way more than anywhere else does.
Yeah, and I will say, this isn't directed at you or like either of you guys specifically, but I have seen a lot of blowback from people on social media about that stuff, where it's like, you got to eat at local places right now. Don't eat at McDonald's. It's like, I understand the sentiment and I agree overall, but like that McDonald's has local workers too. Okay, so like, I get the sentiment. I agree overall, but let's not be shaming people who are going to change right now if that's the comfort food they need to get through it. Because again, everybody who works at the McDonald's up here is from Flagstaff. Okay, now again, mom and pops need the help much more than any big company does. I get all that. Just everybody's making this through their own way. Like, let's not shame people for their approaches. That's all.
Sure.
Well, and not to mention places like McDonald's, they're franchised, so that is kind of a mom and pop store for the most part,
with a big corporate backing, and there's some components. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a local manager with local staff. So
local bills to pay.
Anybody who can go anywhere to patronize a business right now is probably helping.
Exactly. So yeah, it's such a God. It feels so weird where it's like everyone wants to help out but isn't sure of the right way to do it. It seems.
Well, even like I get delivery Thai food occasionally still. And it's like my great joy still. And I felt bad being like, oh man, I'm putting the worker through like having to go and probably having second thoughts or hesitation about it, like contracting the COVID or whatever. And I was like, well, no, actually, I'm sure that might be true, but I'm sure there's some level of like gratitude for like, good, thank you for ordering some food and giving us some money.
Yeah.
So
for paying for something. Yeah.
And I tip really, really well. So, for especially right now.
Yeah, we've had tipping debates on this show in the past, obviously, but if for some reason you have been the type of person who has not been tipping for your carry out or delivery, especially your delivery, fucking stop.
Yeah.
It's needed now more than ever, especially because the restaurant industry, while surviving because of the need for food, has still had to lay off a lot of people because the in-house component is gone. So, like, you still need delivery drivers, you still need cooks, you still need all that, but the servers and stuff, what are they going to do right now?
Hospitality in general is, like, big question mark.
Yeah.
Like, all the way down to, like, students enrolling in hospitality programs, it's, like, dried up completely. Even kind of, like, before COVID, but, like, especially now.
Well, it just shows how fragile that is how quickly those types of businesses that are so reliant on continuous business is like, one event can happen and boom, all the business is gone. It's a scary realm to be in, scary industry to be in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would argue that, well, what's NAU's most famous school? There's a couple up there, I think, but one of them is definitely hotel and restaurant management.
Yep.
It's one of the better programs across the country, and, well, guess what? Both of those industries are in terrible times right now, particularly hotels, but restaurants as well for the reasons we talked about. And yeah, I think it's just for our generation and the one behind us that have all been not as coddled as people like to give us flack for, but still somewhat coddled overall, I think. All of this has been an extreme wake-up call to just how vulnerable certain industries could be in the case of a hugely like once in a lifetime moment like this. But even so, like as a newspaper person, I'm going through furloughs. I'm off next week unpaid. But at no point I've ever been like, I'm not going to make it through. Like, I'm not going to have a job. Of course I'm going to have a job. Like, that's not a concern to me. Other industries, I'm sure there were people that were back around my birthday, like when this was first happening, going, oh shit. Like, I work for a salon.
Mm-hmm.
How in the like? There's no work from home component. There's no hands off component. How am I going to make a living? And very quickly it became evident. Well, you're going to have to figure something out because that job's gone.
Yeah.
That's just one example. But
well, I guess that leads me to wondering. I mean, how confident are we in the fact of things starting to open back up by May 1st? I mean, that's 16 days from now, as of recording.
I don't know. It's hard to believe a little bit, but I have a feeling whenever it happens, it's just gonna be like it's just gonna happen one day, and it's gonna be like, okay, things are back up, and there's not gonna be a lot of like build up. That's my guess, and it's just gonna be like, okay.
I think people are going to so gradually go back into it. That's what I'm more afraid of. Is that, Shaun, you're right. Like, people might say, all right, let's open back up, but people are going to be very hesitant to go.
I think the trickiest part of this is going to be you cannot commit to maintaining this social distancing in its current form until a vaccine is done, because by all accounts, a vaccine is 12 to 18 months. Now, maybe something gets fast-tracked and they're able to test it successfully, and maybe you look at 6 as an absolute bright side. Well, guess what? That puts us in September. Can we keep the economy shuttered like it is right now until September? God, no. Mm-hmm. I don't think even the most ardent Democrat would be like, absolutely, we have to keep people safe. It's like, no. You can't have 40% unemployment and then be worried about the health aspect because you're going to kill people via poverty. Mm-hmm. So this idea, the framework I've been trying to change for people in my position, because I have a voice and an audience, is to stop talking about going back to normal. We are not going back to normal possibly ever, but if we do, it sure as fuck won't be till next year. Mm-hmm. Period. Like, there's all this talk about, will the NBA come back and all this stuff. It's like, maybe. We had that discussion last week. If it does, it sure as hell is not going to be in front of fans. Mm-hmm. They'll be playing in some quarantined location to get the NBA playoffs in and at least have something people can watch on TV and make some money. So, like, normal is dead for now, if not forever. Will we ever shake hands again? Honest question, not hyperbole.
I think yes, because it's so ingrained.
I think so too.
Different industries are going to be different. Like, I would say in my industry in finance, where so much of it is face-to-face meeting, eye-to-eye type of contact, probably yes. But a younger generation that's 15, 16, 20 years old right now, maybe not. I mean, it might start to die out. Well,
at the very least, it's underscored the importance of like hand sanitizer, which has already started going up before all this. Like, you notice it more and more businesses and locations as like an amenity, but like now, I think especially.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me in the past couple months, and not downplay anything. I'm like the healthiest I've ever been, and it's probably because I'm washing my hands more often. I'm being more cautious of things like that. But like normally every once in a while I'll pick up, just a little cold or a little sniffle or something like that every once in a while. And lately I've had none of it. I've been like the clearest I've been.
It showcases just how much you get exposed to germs on a daily basis. And to a small extent, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Your immune system needs to be challenged so that it has a response for situations like this. And if you live in a bubble the whole time, then you're in severe danger if you're able to leave it. Well, but the opposite is also true, and this has taught us that people are extremely unhygienic by default, because just think about all the time somebody's been sick at work, and then, like, half the workplace has gotten it.
Yeah, all the time.
It's because people don't stay home when they're sick, and I know there's a lot of stigma with that, and only so many sick days, I get all that. But they don't stay home when they're sick. When they are in the office, they don't cover their mouths properly, they don't cough into their elbow, they don't stop touching everything, other people. So it just spreads all this stuff. Well, now we have a disease that barely needs any help spreading. And we've seen just how dire that can be because people's habits are so ingrained and so terrible. So hopefully, long term, this is actually better for us because it's taught people, like you said, wash your hands better when you do it. Don't just go like, some people don't do it at all, like when they leave the bathroom. Some people do it, they run their hands under the water and they walk out. Like, actually do this stuff because it matters.
Mm-hmm. It actually works. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I had a hot take about this, but I forgot it. So
All right.
while I'm trying to remember, I wanted to ask how are they treating it right now? Is it immune to antibiotics when you get it, or like how does that work?
There's no
Well, it's a
treatment.
virus, so yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Of
Yeah.
course.
There's no, Trump, don't feel bad. Trump has walked into that himself. Where
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
talked about, like, we can fight off different types of things with the antibodies, and it's like, not a virus.
Yeah, it's so there are certain treatments that can help lessen the severity of some of the symptoms. There are certain steroids that can help open up your airways potentially. It depends on the severity of your symptoms, really. I mean, there are people who have to be on a ventilator and literally have a machine breathe for them because it's that bad. And then there's other people who have a little bit of a cough, and that's it. So that's the weirdest thing about this virus is I've heard some people estimate that, 40% of the population has already had it or something like that.
Oh, that was my hot take. I think there is a more than a small chance that Chris and I have already had it.
I've wondered if I've already had it too.
Not me.
Are you sure? Because I got sick and then you got sick,
That
and
was
you
a
never
cold.
get sick.
That was a cold. Doesn't have any of the same symptoms.
I don't know. Mine was.
Mine was all like nose congestion. I never had fever. I never had sore throat. I never had there's zero chance.
Well, let me tell you, I had started with a fever. Then I had this dry cough that was like super persistent and weird because I don't normally get that. It lasted forever. So I was wondering about it.
I mean, yeah, I had a. Mine didn't last very long, but I had like a 2-day stretch where I had like 101, 102 fever and was coughing a bit. It wasn't awful, but it was in February though. It was in like early February. So I was like, all right, well, I got a cold. I got the flu for a day. Like that's what it was, and I figured I was fine. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're starting to do some antibody tests because it would be really interesting if there was some hard data showing how much of the population has the antibodies for these, has the white blood cells for this.
I was wondering, if at some point down the road when tests are available for the people who actually need it, let alone for those who don't need it and are curious. But I just was curious to see, did I actually get it already?
Yeah.
Now, there has been a lot of talk about how there were people who felt like they had the flu back in, say, December or January, and it never really matched up with a flu diagnosis. Like they would get tested and it wasn't that, but they still didn't feel very good. Could they have had it? And I don't know. I mean, technically our first case wasn't until February, at least documented, but it could be. There's also a lot of whispers about like China's lying about its numbers. I believe that. I don't know if I go full-blown conspiracy theory on it, but they would have every incentive to minimize it. And like the United States has blown past China's number of cases, and that was the first place it started.
Yeah.
So
well, and if they said when did it start in China? Like November,
December.
Yeah. And they said how many millions of people flew out from there during that time before there was even really any sort of response or lockdown or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's over 1 billion people there in China, so yeah.
There's a chance. It doesn't really change a whole lot if I have had it. I was just like, it crossed my mind of like, oh man, I had like one of the worst colds I've had in a long time, at right around the same time as this thing. So who knows?
Yeah, it is really weird how this virus has been, for some people, this devastating thing that knocks you out and kills people, and then for some others, you have like nothing. It's such a weird thing because like they've said, part of the biggest problem with this is that people can be asymptomatic and pass it.
Yep.
Or never really show heavy symptoms, which if I got a virus that didn't show any symptoms, I don't care. Oh no, I got a virus that didn't hurt me at all, whatever. But if I hurt somebody else, then I care.
Yeah,
you
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah,
it's
of course.
one of those things. It's one of those things where like, if it didn't show any symptoms for anybody, who cares? It doesn't matter, move on. Life doesn't matter. Like that doesn't matter to that. But when it starts hurting other people, it's weird how it kind of almost picks and chooses. I don't know. It's odd. I can't get my head around it.
I think this means I'm immune. I'm immortal.
Well,
you can send me to the front lines and I can start doing volunteer work.
If you have had it and recovered, theoretically, yes, you are immune to it.
I'm immune. Did you ever see the Simpsons episode where like
yes.
Mr. Burns is like every
indestructible. Yes,
Doctor's like, God, no, really, at any second you could, and he's like,
even the slightest breeze could. Yes, I know that one well.
That's very good.
Yeah,
That's what I have.
Yeah, it's odd, and it's odd how people are reacting to this. I mean, some people have gone full blown conspiracy theory that the 5G towers they're erecting are the cause of coronavirus. I'm like, what?
Sweet, dude.
What? How how does one equal two on this?
That'd be awesome, though.
The thing that they've never connected the dots on, and I know it's foolish to engage with this in the first place, but like, who does it benefit if that's true?
The Democrats, obviously.
Who
'cause
benefits from
Trump
that?
is going to be voted in. Duh.
I actually had a conspiracy theory that I created on myself, and I immediately dismissed it. But I was like, that'd be interesting if like the elections are delayed because like they feel like they can't get people to the polls, and so like that's a way to like get Trump, like in interim whatever, like lasting beyond when he's supposed to be out, and then that delay sets a precedent for like another delay, and then another year, and then another term. And I was like, interesting.
I mean, that would be really stupid if that was Trump's plan. It's like, because he was looking really good to win before all this happened.
Yeah,
And
but now he
it's
doesn't need to
not.
win. What's the best way to make sure you win? Don't play at all. Right?
I guess.
So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I'm already getting sick of people's responses to this. As I said to Shaun the other day, it's like now the most fascinating part of this, and I use fascinating with a heavy eye roll, is people going, see, this wasn't that big of a deal now that we know the social distancing has had an effect and done exactly what it was supposed to have, which is flatten the curve, reduce the number of cases, the number of deaths. Now that it's worked exactly as planned, this was an overreaction. We should never have done this. It's like, great. Wonderful.
It's funny how many people don't understand that the idea is not to it's hard to explain, but like the idea is not necessarily to lower the amount of people that catch it overall. It's to lower the amount of people that catch it at one time.
Exactly.
So that you don't overrun your hospitals.
Yep.
It's not that hard, I think, to grasp, but like some people really don't understand that.
So to answer your question very belatedly, because we've sort of had a roundabout answer to it, yeah, I do think the country's probably going to reopen on a limited basis on May 1st. I don't think there's any way around that fact. Now, what cities and counties choose to do on an individual basis, and or if they even have the choice, or if the governors make it for them, will be interesting. But I think you're going to see a lot of places that were closed before reopen. Now, not everything will and can't, but especially as it relates to businesses, I think they're all going to come back on May 1st.
But like
You think?
I think so, with measures put in place, like separating tables, or, again, like they're going to have to do some things to be proactive about this, even if they were to reopen. I don't think you can just be like, all right, flip the switch right back to the way it was before. But I also don't think you can keep them shuttered because, again, unless you're committed to doing this for another up to 18 months, or I guess 16 and a half now, you have to accept the fact that eventually the spread's going to continue.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm with you. I don't know about May 1st necessarily, but I think a lot of places are going to reopen back to their interim solution to begin with. So, for example, Orange Theory had a thing where you could still go in, but they were enrolling half of the people for each class that they normally would, so they could put a station between each person.
Yeah, like separating treadmills and stuff, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
gyms were doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could see that being the thing where it's opened in, I think you said, limited capacity.
And like hair salons. Well, again, maybe you don't have somebody sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
But if you can space them apart 6 feet at those stations, then you go in going, okay, I'm going to be touched by another person. But, if I make sure I wash up before that, if they're taking their appropriate measures, that's a risk. I know what I'm accepting going in, so we can get those businesses back.
And then maybe they just, heavily incorporate like face masks or even gloves into certain businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily solve it, but it certainly helps.
Well, yeah, it helps to slow it. And again, if we've hit this point where a certain percentage of the population has had it, then that will lower the possibility of more people needing hospital services at that point, which then we can start to move towards normalcy at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So,
but I feel bad for the people who are in the high risk category, because for them,
Yep.
doesn't really change a whole lot. Like, they should still not really expose themselves. So I'm thinking like my parents should still not leave the house ever. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking ahead to what we might want to do for my grandpa's 90th birthday. He turns 90 early next year. And we were thinking about making this trip to San Diego in November just because that was when the most likely time to get it was. He doesn't care about celebrating on his birthday. We just thought we'd get together as a family then. And now I'm like, do I want my 89-year-old grandfather to be in any place like that in November, which is still 7 months from now? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about
wonder-
myself, but I'm lucky enough not to be in an at-risk or vulnerable group. Do I want to expose him to that needlessly until we have a vaccine in the mix? Not really.
Yeah, I wonder, like, yeah, I've got the same type of thing, Chris. My grandma's turning 90 this June. Do I, like, we'd love to have a big birthday party for her with all the family. Is that a good idea to do on June 30th? Probably not.
Probably not.
Which sucks.
And I was watching some highlights of stuff because, all you can do is watch past stuff or plow through the Netflix catalog into the depths of hell. So, like, it was just watching somebody take a locker room tour of an arena and, like, interacting with some of the staff and stuff and then, like, going out into the crowd. And it's like, man, I don't know how long it's going to be till we get that experience back. It sort of touches on what you said back in the beginning, Dave, where it's like you miss, like, just being able to go to a basketball game. It's like, yeah, when is the next time that's going to happen? Because that's far from essential.
Yeah. Well, what's the what has been the resolution of like pollution and like environmental stuff?
It's improved.
Because I've heard it's like improved a lot.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible. I'm reminded of the Louis C.K. bit where he plays the game where like, okay, I know this thing is terrible, but
yeah, but maybe.
Yeah. So I'm like, not necessarily that people are dying, but just the fact that we are indoors, we're not driving as much, we're not polluting as much, like we're leaving less of a footprint, and like maybe that's kind of good.
I think you lead into a really interesting thing for jobs such as ours that, our different industries that we have. What is the reason you can't support work from home more often, or at least have the option or part-time or half-time work from home or something like that? Like my job, yes, there is a component where people need to be in an office because we have physical mail that comes in. We have, meetings that take place with clients, face-to-face meetings. So yeah, there's an aspect to my job that needs to be done from the office. But why is there not the option for many of the people that I work with to work from home? I can't figure it out because we're proving right now that it's able to be done. It's not perfect, but it sure can be done. We have the capacity to do it. I mean, my company has, a very small workforce that's still in the offices, but out of my entire, Phoenix office that has 130 people in it, 7 are in the office total. So 123 are now working from home full time with no issues.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
Not no issues, but some growing pains, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly some issues, but like you said, not perfect, not ideal, but it doesn't feel like the country has been doing enough working from home, or not enough positions had that as an option. And again, certain lines of work don't allow it, but the ones that didn't feel like they were utilizing it enough. Now, in my line of work, we were kind of ahead of the curve, at least as far as the United States was. And it's probably the only reason I was even still here to get this promotion in the first place. If I wasn't able to work from home 4 or 5 years ago when we made this transition to this new centralized desk that lays stuff out, and I had to wait till like 11:30 in the office every night for them to do pages and stuff, I would have lost my mind a long time ago. But because I can wait for the end of the night at home and like play video games when the last pages are being waited on or whatever, that's made a substantial impact. Likewise, Dave, it would give you, say, more long-term the option of maybe like Courtney could go back to work because you could work from home a few days when the kids are older and don't need as much immediate care. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could work from home a couple days a week and she could work from home a couple days a week and you wouldn't have to worry about childcare. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of different side effects of these things that can be beneficial, and it's like this has forced a steepening of the curve of being like, maybe we can do this. Maybe we've been screwing up not doing it more.
Well, and as I mentioned, I mean, driving, just the amount of resources that people put into their car in general, to the gas they put in the car, the maintenance, the pollution aspect, the time aspect. My God, I mean, I live a half an hour from my job on a good day. So, 45 minutes to an hour on a bad traffic day. So that's an hour to 2 hours of my day every day. Mm-hmm. That's just gone. And now when I'm working from home, my time commuting to my work is the time it takes me to get down the stairs. That's it.
Well, yeah. So take that 2 hours and start working out again. Boom. You thought I was
And
going to
we've come full
forget? You
circle.
thought I wouldn't bring it back? I'm always on, Dave. I
Yeah.
have no chill.
I want to refer everyone to last week's episode where Shaun said he was possibly brain dead because he's been staying up so late at night.
Yeah, but now he's sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
Yes.
See?
By the way, weirdest aspect, and I know like Sean's driven more than I have, but not by a ton. Like I haven't filled up 4 weeks.
No, I haven't. My tank is still full.
Like I'm watching gas prices lower, and I have 3/4 of a tank still, and I'm driving past the gas station, and it feels like I need to stop because it's been weeks. So it's like I gotta get gas. And I look down, and I have 5/8 of a tank. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I filled up both cars with gas on March 31st. I have 2 cars, and one of them is a big car for the family. It's it's a Yukon, a GMC Yukon, so it's a big car, 28-gallon tank. I still have half a tank left in that thing, and the only driving I've done is to my parents' house.
Yeah, well, and I feel bad for saying this again. We keep reiterating, like, I'm not trying to rub it in, but like I've been able to save so much money because I'm not eating out as much. I'm not paying for Orange Theory right now. They froze all of our accounts, which was nice of them because not all gyms are doing that. Like I'm just saving so much money right now, and we're cooking more, so like that's been nice too.
And we didn't end up spending money on the house that we had rented, so like I got all that money back, and like activities have gone way the hell down, so I'm not spending money on that. I'm not going to the movies. I'm not,
I miss vacations, but I haven't had to plan or pay for any of them. I haven't done any races, which I also miss, but again, that's money that's still in my wallet. So.
Well, now's the time to fly, though. Have you looked at flights?
Yeah,
Airline prices?
Oh my God, is it like $10?
I wish I had any idea about what my schedule was going to look like for the remainder of the fiscal year, because I would be jumping on that immediately.
So just to give you an example, I was looking the other day I could fly my entire family, so 4 seats I'd need on a flight from here just to Los Angeles or Orange County, just so if we want to go to the beach for a weekend. Under $400 round trip for all of us.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Normally it's about 200, possibly 200 each way.
Tell them about Maine.
And yes, my parents generally go to Maine for the summer, and they had invited. They basically said like, "Hey, we'll get a little bit bigger cabin, so you, my wife, and kids can go to Maine over the summer, but you guys just have to pay for the flight." I'm like, all right, I'll look at it. It would have been about $2,400 to fly the whole family to Maine round trip and back, not to mention having to get a rental car and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not spending that much money on it. Recently, I saw an Google alert popped up since I looked at the flight that said my flight to Maine would now be $800 for the entire family.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And I
Now,
was like,
there was that window in a time that feels forever ago, back in the first part of March. Remember when there was a whole bunch of especially 20-somethings who were just hopping on flights internationally because they were super cheap, even though it was probably a bad idea? Especially in some cases when they were flying to areas that were already affected by the outbreak, even though the United States wasn't. Well, this is still sort of that same window. It's just nobody's doing it right now. But if you can book now for the future, all you're really doing is rolling the dice that you won't actually be able to follow through on the flight because things are not improved like we would hope they would be by then.
well, most places are charging no cancellation or change fees right now.
Yep.
Which is kind of like, all right, go for it.
Which is good because I already had a flight booked for May that I immediately then canceled because I'm like, well, this isn't happening. I don't know what the world looks like in July, but I can tell you what it looks like in May, and it's not me flying anywhere.
So so we have a race that we would still like to try to do in August. And who knows? But it sounds like we should maybe try to book the flights. Are they going to be that far out though?
I was looking at the end of July. It was the flights I was looking for California. End of July.
And the trick with that is typically most airlines are now mirroring Southwest's normal policy, which is you can extend it to within a year of when you booked the flight, not when you were supposed to have taken it, but when you booked it. So, as long as you're prepared to try and do something with it before, say, next April or May, it wouldn't be a bad time to try.
Yep.
But see, again, that's we keep hammering this home because I feel a little bit guilty because I know there are people who are struggling out there, but it's like for us, we could afford to put money down on a flight that may or may not happen when it does and then just eat the money for later. So, again, it sucks, but like you said earlier, Shaun, we can't just be like, well, I'm going to take a moral stance against a good deal. It's like, well, somebody else could be like, I want that fucking deal, click.
You're talking about flights that if the main one is to be the, example, 25% of the normal value. No, 30, whatever. Yeah, 33%. Still. That's far less than half.
Yeah, it is. It is. So
Dang.
it's yeah. These times I can't get over how weird this is, and that I know I've said it before, but like every once in a while, I kind of almost like take a step back and like look at the situation, think like this feels almost normal. This working from home, not going out to concerts, not going out to restaurants. It's amazing how quickly people can adapt when things are going okay, I think. And this almost feels like normal. And I almost don't remember like the idea of going to out like that. You know what I mean?
To
Wow,
me,
that's bad.
yeah,
No.
to say you got sucked in. To me, the only reason I feel the same way sometimes. The only reason it's palatable to me is because in my head it's short term.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, this is the
think
thing we have
that's
to do right now, and maybe for a few more weeks, but probably sometime in May, we're going to be looking at going back to relative normal, like we've talked about, not 100%, but things kind of going back to the way they were before. So it's like, this is sort of like this thing I'm doing in the short term. You know, like when you would like put a tent up in your backyard and you go camping. It's like that. You're like, I'm going to sleep outside for a couple days. Would you want to do that for a year? No, fuck no. You want to sleep in your bed. But for like a short term, it's different. It's interesting. You can make it work for yourself. So you're like, okay, if this was going to last through July, I'd probably start going a little bit stir crazy. And that's coming from an introvert myself. I don't need to be out glad handing people, but I'd like to go in groups and do stuff with people again. I don't want to do that for nothing until like July.
I like how Chris and I are like, we're looking forward to being over, and Dave's over here like, I can't even remember what it's like going to the movies.
In 2020, before the coronavirus, I remember a time when you could talk to people from closer than 6 feet.
Isolation's the only life I know.
It's like, Dave, I know it's been a weird time frame and everybody's thrown off by what day of the week it is, but that was just 5 weeks ago.
You're going to be like, gather round, kids. I'm going to tell you about life before the... Caitlin's going to be like, yeah, like I remember that actually. It was like not that long ago.
Say. Exactly. You're like, Caitlin, when you were 6, she's like, I am 6. That was fast.
I meant the feeling, you damn assholes.
That was fun. We haven't gone off on a long-winded take Dave's thoughts out of context and blow them out of proportion rant in quite a few episodes.
No, that's true.
I'm glad you appreciate the actually admit the out of context and blow out of proportion.
Oh, absolutely. And yet, is it going to stop us from doing it?
No.
And delighting in it?
No.
It's the most fun
no.
I have, Dave.
It is all of your
It's
fun.
my
But here,
favorite
Shaun,
pastime.
Look, you introverts are okay with not being inside all the time, except when you can't play basketball, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That's true. I was feeling like I was pretty good too, and like now it's gonna be starting all over. My shot's gonna be terrible again.
We just played basketball, a week before this whole damn thing broke out, basically, really started happening, and
yeah,
I miss it.
We had 3 different people up 3 different weekends right before this happened, which ended up working out great because I was kind of like, all right, a weekend to myself. Well, it turned out it's going to be weeks and weeks to myself. But at the time, I thought, okay, this is perfect. And then we had the week scheduled in Phoenix that we've talked about, canceled it. I'm glad that we didn't go for a variety of reasons, but one I've realized now after the fact is we would have still had fun if we had gotten in the house and not done anything because everything was canceled. But I think I would have actually resented the fact that all the fun stuff we planned was going to get ruined. So I'm actually glad it didn't happen at all. We would have made it work. It wouldn't have been terrible or anything, but I think I would have resented the fact that like we were going to play basketball, canceled. Suns game, Coyotes game, canceled. Top Golf, closed. Like all this stuff would have come up and I've been like, oh man, we would have been doing this today and that, and oh man.
Yeah, and work has been kind of a nightmare, but we've had fun on the weekends. So
yeah,
and for free, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, actually, something I thought of is that I've actually kind of connected with people more so than I would have otherwise. Like every week, my sister and her boyfriend and Chris have been playing Jackbox over Zoom, over Skype. We just play, and it's like, this is kind of fun. I wouldn't talk to my sister as often, probably, but now we kind of like, well, we want to do something, so let's play over the internet. And now we hang out a little bit more.
Yeah, and families are doing, in some cases, like nightly Zoom calls. And that's great, and I hope it continues after this is done. I hope people actually take this to heart. I know it's difficult when you're out of the thick of it to then just take that step back and realize, oh yeah, that was important to do, but we always say it, I said it after my grandma died, like, I'm going to make sure I call my family more often. And I did for a while, and I probably still do more now than I did back then, but I haven't lived up to what I thought that promise was going to be, because you get back into your old routine, and then you forget about all those things that you changed or wanted to improve on. So hopefully, especially when this lasts for this long, people will have actually made some sizable changes to their life for the better.
Yeah, especially those who can't even remember what it was like beforehand.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're
how
not
can you
going
go
to know
back?
anything
I
different.
can't. I know. It's just all I know.
Yeah.
That was a
exactly.
whole different generation back then. You can't go back to the way things were then.
I mean, I was 34 then. God, what did I do then? I don't know.
Just a babe in the world.
Dave's like, there's 2 periods of my life. Before Corona
2020?
and after.
And they are of equal length.
Oh, no. I hope not, Dave.
God, if I have another 35 years with this isolation and social distancing, it won't be 35 years. That's for sure.
No, and then you're going to find yourself in the at-risk group at the end of it. So
I know.
that's going to be rough.
Uh,
So that's kind of been what we've been up to. I think at some point, maybe in the near future, I don't think next week, but sometime we'll probably do another set of recommendations, because Lord knows if you're anything like us and you've been going through some media on the side, you're probably starting to scrape the barrel a little bit. Not that you're out of ideas completely, but there are people who've gone through Netflix and been like, well, that's everything Netflix had to offer that I care about. So we might do another set of recommendations, because we've been consuming some different media in that span, and we have some new recommendations. But
I gotta say, I'm really curious to go back and listen to this episode in about 2 to 3 years, and be like, wow, this really happened.
You're going to go back and be like, wow, I was right on the money about life never returning to the way it was. And they made fun of me for it.
Hang on, I gotta go hang myself.
I was spot on. Yeah, well, I think that'll be interesting. The other thing I think will be interesting is to spin off absolutely nothing to do with what you were saying. Complete tangent. I was thinking our review of Royal was going to be like kind of limited, but I think we can go pretty long, because there's a lot of new stuff.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
And there's a lot of even the small new stuff that I want to talk a lot about, like the Showtime attacks. So
How about you just, once you're done, pop that in the mail to me, and then I'll play it, and then we can all do the review.
would you really play it?
And I wouldn't be able to finish it quickly, that's for sure.
Okay.
Say
Because
if you want to review it in November,
Yeah, exactly.
or in Dave time, 2036.
I was going to say we could we're going to review it
2026.
when Chris and I are done, which is going to be sooner than we probably thought.
I haven't actually played it all the last 3 days, but it's primarily because whatever time I've had, I poured into making this Rock Band thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I put a bunch of custom tracks on it. It's awesome. Don't arrest me, please.
I really want to come up and play with you guys.
I spent so much money on that game. I don't even feel the least bit bad at
No.
all. I have spent literally almost $1,000 on that game.
And let's be real. Like, you're putting on, you're avoiding music that you could otherwise pay for.
Yeah.
You're just putting on music that they never converted. Like, this is just fans making tracks.
Yep. Because if they do end up making a version of a track that they had made a fan version of and they officially release it, they delete that. They're like, all right, we got to get rid of it, support the official release. So yeah, there's really nothing untoward there, but still. Anyways, I sidetracked it, but that was to say, like, yeah, I was plowing through Royal. I got sidetracked by this the last few days, but I was enjoying it. I intend to get back to it.
So look for that soon. I would say we almost could do a review now, except all of the main content edition is at the very end.
Yeah. So the quality of life increases, and the new intermittent story and some of the new features and stuff we could definitely speak on. The new arc and the new semester, I don't have any idea what's going to happen there.
I mean, I'm even going to have an element of the review that is almost regardless of Royal. It's playing through the game a second time. Characters I'm looking at them differently than I did the first time. Just as a quick spoiler for what I'll expound on later, Haru is a delight, and I didn't care about her at all the first time.
Yeah.
And I think she's really actually hilarious and a great character. So.
Interesting. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And I from what I've seen, it's not anything new really why I like her. It's just I have a different relationship with her now.
Mm-hmm.
When she points at Yusuke completely out of context and says, "You learn to take a hint," because that's Mona giving her talking God knows what kind of shit about Yusuke. That stuff is funny to me. So, anyways, more to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have new thoughts on almost all the cast.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I want to do what you did with Jason.
3 hours?
I mean, not 3 hours, but very in depth.
2 hours. I'd do 2 hours.
I was gonna say, to be at all in depth, they're gonna have to commit to probably a 2-weeker. Well, we'll do it in one night and we'll split it and then take the next week off.
Yeah, I mean that's
it.
fine. I mean, look, I love Jason, but he's not the most brevity is not his strength. So
The truth is, next week would be the ideal time to do it while I'm off.
I don't think
But
I'll be done
know,
by then.
I certainly won't. So that's the downside of it.
I mean, the problem is I've spent 70 hours on it so far, and I have about another 60 to go from what I've read. So like,
good lord.
Yeah.
Get on it, Shaun.
I'll be a little quicker than that, but I'm not listening to as much of the story as you are. 'Cause
Yeah,
you like the
that's
voice
true.
acting quite a bit, and I like it too. But the parts I've already heard and know like in my head, because I played it twice already. So the parts I know, I'm like, all right, skip,
I forgot
skip.
that.
Yeah, because I did it with Michaela for the
man,
channel.
That's
so,
true.
So I'm plowing through any old stuff. If I see anything I've done before, I'm like,
Yeah.
so that'll help me catch up to you a little bit since I've fallen behind. But even so, I don't know how we beat it next week. But it'll come somewhat soon. It'll still be certainly within a window that's relevant, and it comes with all three of our wholehearted recommendations. Dave hasn't even touched it, but he would recommend you play it.
I mean, it's an expanded on something that I loved. So yeah, fine. Go for it.
It's the definitive version of one of the 10 best games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Which
So-
we'll do again someday. My concern is that it's going to elevate it to like the #1 spot because it's all going to be on all of our lists, and it doesn't really belong there, but it belongs high up. So we're going to have to see how that goes.
I think no matter when we ever do that again, we're going to sort of be victims to recency bias of some kind. Like, no matter when we decide the cutoff is, something that's had a huge impact on us recently will have made the list. Like, if we had done this 6 months later than we did, Fire Emblem Awakening would have been #1.
Yeah, which it didn't deserve to be.
It wasn't on the list at all because we did it right before it came out or as it was coming out. And if we'd done it, and if we do it now, Awakening, I think, will be high, but not as high as it would have been back then. So a lot of it's just going to be whenever we decide to do it, the list is going to be reflected by that to some degree. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fun list for ourselves, and maybe a game is a little higher than it should be. Like Phoenix Wright probably shouldn't have been the #2 male character of all time, if we're being totally honest. And I recognize what the words on the top of the screen say and what this is based on, but like, it's probably not the second best character of all time. But it happened because that's our panel. What are you gonna do?
Well, it'll be a new panel too.
Yeah,
that'll be
That's true.
fun.
That'll help. That'll change things around.
And I can tell you this much: as I love Persona 5, it has not unseated Chrono Trigger.
Oh well, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not my #1.
But if it's top 5 to 10 for the majority of the panel, then yeah, it's going to be top 3 for sure.
Mhm.
Maybe #1. I can live with that more than I can live with Star Fox being in the top 25. Not saying anybody in particular made a mistake with that, but someone did.
It wasn't me.
No, and I
no,
love that
this time
game.
it wasn't you, Dave.
I love that game, but no. So that's the end of this episode. In between shows, you can find us at objectionnetwork.com, where you can find all those past lists that we've done, and sometime in the future we might have time again. You can also find us on social media that's never used on youtube.com/objectionnetwork. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I hesitated. I say it every week. And send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. Goodbye.
Bye.